What's up, Crossroads Church? It's good to see you this morning. Hey, my name's Chris. I'm one of the pastors here. And man, wasn't it awesome celebrating with Tracy, her step in following Christ through baptism? That was awesome, wasn't it? Let's give it up for that. Yeah. If you are a follower of Christ and have not been baptized, I'd encourage you to consider it. We would love to walk that road with you. We'd love to have a conversation with you about it. It is an important piece of our surrender to and following of Jesus, that he asks us to be baptized as a public proclamation of our faith in him. And so we'd love to talk more about that. You can reach out to the church. You can go on the website. You can stop by the Jesus table in the lobby and find out more information, and we can go from there. All right. Well, hey, if you are just joining us, we are in week 5 of a 6-week series where we are spending all 6 weeks in one chapter, and that is Matthew chapter 10. And in Matthew chapter 10, Jesus has gathered his disciples around because he's about to send them out to the people of Israel to spread the news of the gospel of Jesus. And this pep talk is one of the weirdest pep talks anyone's ever given to anyone else, because he's saying things like, hey, I'm going to send you guys out as sheep among wolves. It's going to be painful. People are going to make fun of you. They're going to hate you. They're going to ridicule you and persecute you. They're going to drag you into court. They might even beat you up. You might even lose your life. And then he goes, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of any of that, which we talked about last week, this idea that we don't have to fear those things when it comes to us living for Jesus, because he's bigger than all of it. That no matter what can come our way, we don't have to fear those things because our God is present and our God is sovereign and our God loves us more than we can ever imagine. And then that brings us to our sermon for this week. And as I was preparing for the message this weekend, an 80s commercial kind of popped into my head. If you're an 80s kid, you know what this one is. And I'll give you a hint. It's an ice cream bar that's coated in chocolate, and there's a white polar bear. You know what I'm talking about? Klondike bar. Let's go ahead and throw that image up on the screen. There it is. All right. Now, if you remember these commercials, you also remember that their jingle was like a brain worm that once it got in, it just never left, right? Like you hear it and then it's in your head the rest of the day. In fact, I want to just do you a favor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sing the first part of the jingle, and then I'm going to trust that you know the second part of the jingle, and that we're going to sing it really loud so that even the kids down the hallway are like, what in the world are mom and dad doing? All right, ready? Are you ready? We have one person who's ready. All right. Are you ready? Okay, ready? What would you do? Okay, all right. So you know it, right? What would you do for a Klondike bar? And man, the marketing behind this was genius. In fact, one of the commercials was my favorite. It was these two kids sitting on a park bench, and they are bandaged up, and they are bruised and bleeding, and it looks like they just walked off of the battlefield, and they're both sitting on the park bench eating a Klondike bar, and one of them looks at the other and goes, "What'd you do for yours?" And immediately the commercial clips to these scenes of him parachuting and getting chased by wild monkeys and attacked by a snake and fighting zombies and disarming bombs and getting shot by poison darts. And then the camera goes back to these two kids, and the one goes, "I don't really want to talk about it." And they just keep eating their Klondike bars. But man, it's just a genius. Like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? I mean, there's so much truth to that, right? Because here's what I mean, is that everyone has a price they're willing to pay or not willing to pay for everything. Everyone has a price for everything. And we see this especially in music, like this hyperbole, right? Like, what would you do for love? Right? And we have these songs that are like, I would climb any mountain, and I would swim across the ocean, and I would walk 1,000,000 miles just to hold your hand, right? I would do anything. I would go to the ends of the earth. I would fetch the stars from the sky. So romantic, right? Like, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough, right, to keep me. Now, here's the thing. Or maybe you're like Meatloaf, and you're like, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that, right? You see, everyone has a price for everything, and there's obvious things that we wouldn't do, right? Like nobody is going to spend $500 for a Klondike bar, except maybe my son, who loves ice cream maybe more than anything, right? Nobody's going to give away their car for a sandwich. Like there's obvious things that we wouldn't do, but then there's other things that maybe are a little bit more difficult to name your price. Like let's just jump to the chase. Like what would you do? What would you give to follow Jesus? What would you do? I mean, what would you pay? How much is too much? This is exactly the question that Jesus is talking about today as we look at Matthew chapter 10, starting in verse 34. As he continues this pep talk with his disciples, he gives them a clear picture of what it costs to follow him. And I just want to tell you ahead of time, the cost is shocking. It's shocking. So here we are, picking up in Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. It says this: "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword, for I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household." All right, let's go ahead and close in a prayer. Hold on a second, Jesus, what are you talking about here? Like we see in Isaiah when you are prophesied that you are the Prince of Peace. That we sing songs, especially around Christmas time, that Jesus is the Prince of Peace. We read scriptures that even in terrible storms of life, that we can have a peace that surpasses understanding. What are you talking about, Jesus, that you did not come to bring peace? And then you continue on with how you're setting all these family members against each other. What are you talking about? Well, there's a couple of things that he's talking about here. First is that the Jewish people were waiting for a Messiah, yes, but they were waiting for a Messiah to bring peace politically. They were waiting for a Messiah to be their political leader, to set them free from the oppression of Rome that they had been under. And Jesus makes it clear, like, that's not me. That's not what I'm doing here. In fact, my kingdom is actually going to bring disruption to your life and to your families. You see, Jewish families were very, very tight-knit. I don't know that most of us even begin to understand how tight-knit the Jewish families were, where multiple generations would be staying in the same house together. I mean, you might have several people, dozen people, 20 people, all of different generations living in the same house together. And just imagine what would happen is if in that house of, let's say, 15 people, one person decides they're going to follow Jesus. You see, this wasn't just simply a conversion. This wasn't just simply a change of heart for that person. But what they had to consider before following Jesus was, my family is going to hate this. Like, my family is not going to approve of this decision. You see, it wasn't just a conversion, but it was socially and culturally, and even at the basic level of a family, they were willing to forsake all of it. They were forsaking all of it for the sake of following Jesus. And you can just imagine the division that would come from that. Like the fights at home that would come. I mean, it would be dramatic. I mean, just imagine your whole family, your whole community, all the people around you discouraging you, manipulating you, doing everything they could to convince you not to follow Jesus, to the point where if you do follow Jesus, we are cutting you off. This is what was going on. I remember the first time I kind of came face to face with this is when we went to Lebanon in 2017 with a team to go and visit some of our partners there. And we, at one moment, we sat with this couple who had been raised in a Muslim household, a Muslim community, and since then they had come to faith in Jesus. And this was their situation, that they were living every day, every moment in fear of, like, we could lose our lives for this. In fact, when they came to meet us that day, they said they were watching in their rearview mirrors. They were driving down the road to come meet with us to see if anyone from their community was following them, to catch up with them and to kill them. You see, this is the kind of division that Jesus was talking about. Like, hey, as you come to follow me, it's going to bring some disruption in your life, not only on a family level, but also individually. Here's what I mean. You see, when someone comes to faith in Jesus, when someone decides to put their faith in him and follow him, it's after a point of disruption. You see, the point of disruption where we realize, I can't do this on my own. I'm more sinful than I thought I was, and I'm drowning and I'm in need of a Savior. And friends, that's not peaceful, is it? That's a disruption. That's heartbreaking. That's discouragement. That's this hopeless feeling. You see, the gospel of Jesus doesn't bring about peace, at least not first. The gospel of Jesus first brings offense. It brings offense. It shines the light into those dark corners of our hearts. It exposes the lies, the facades, the brokenness, the wounds. It cuts like a sword. And friends, that's painful, isn't it? That's not peaceful. That's like open heart surgery. You see, as human beings, we don't like that. We don't like the fact, especially in our modern day, like independent sort of values, we don't like the idea that I need saving and that I can't do it on my own. That's offensive. The gospel of Jesus first brings offense. And then he continues in verse 37. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. What in the world, Jesus? What are you talking about? Like, weren't you the one that came up with this idea of family? Like, don't we see all over Scripture? Like, husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. Children, love and honor your parents. Like, what do you mean I'm not supposed to love them as much as you're saying I'm? Well, Jesus, what are you talking about? You see, last week in the previous verses, in the previous paragraph, we talked about what I called ordered fears. That it matters how much you fear something. And this idea that sometimes we can allow the fear of mankind, the fear of rejection, the fear of being displaced by others or not liked or whatever, to actually supersede other things that are more important. And Jesus says, don't fear anything more than you fear God. That's what we talked about last week. If you missed it, go back and watch it. Today, Jesus shifts the focus, and he gives us kind of the same idea, but today it's ordered loves. It's the same idea, but it's in regards to what do you love? What do you love the most? In fact, let me just ask you, what are the things you love? Now, a lot of things might come to mind, right? Especially in the English language, the word love, we use it for everything, right? So you might be thinking, oh, well, I love basketball, and I love Mexican food, and I love taking vacations, and I love my wife, and I love Klondike bars, and I love my pets, and I love my job, and I love my kids, and I love pizza, and I love fly fishing, and whatever it is, right? Like there's a lot of things we can love. What are those things for you? Let me ask you a harder question. What do you love the most? Like, what do you really love the most? What are the things that you spend your time and energy and affections on? When you have nothing else to do, where does your mind wander? What keeps you up at night? What do you love the most? In fact, if you were to go home this week and maybe just sit with that question? And that's a good question to reflect on. Try to list out the top 5 things and be honest. Don't just give the right answer because it's the right answer, but what are those things that you love the most? The top 5 things. That'll show you a lot. And here's why this is important, is because when our loves align with God's order, when our loves align with His order, our relationships can be healthy, and we can experience freedom to embrace our purpose and experience true joy. But when our loves are out of order, friends, it causes disaster every time. You might have heard about a man whose wife went missing. She went missing one day, and the next day he woke up and he's scared out of his mind. He doesn't know what to do, so he calls the police. And he's like, hey, I want to file a missing persons report. And so the officer begins to ask him questions like, okay, well, let me get an idea of what your wife looks like so that we can kind of get an image of her in our heads. And so how tall is he, or how tall is she? And he goes, well, I don't know, maybe 5'5", maybe 6 foot, like somewhere in there. I'm not really sure. And the officer goes, okay, well, how much does she weigh? And he goes, I don't know. She's not really that skinny, but she's not really big either, like somewhere in the middle. And the officer's like, okay, well, what about her eye color? Like, surely you know her eye color. And he goes, I don't know. Like, I think it's blue, but sometimes it's brown. I mean, sometimes they look red. I mean, but I don't really know. I think they're blue. Okay, what about her hair color? And he goes, it changes all the time. I don't know. Like, it depends on the season. I think right now it's a little brownish red, but I could be wrong. What about her clothes? And he goes, I don't know. I think she was wearing a hoodie, or maybe it was a tank top, and it could have been yellow or it could have been red. I'm not really sure. And then the officer, just kind of perplexed and a little frustrated, goes, well, when she left, like, did you see her walking or taking a bus or driving? And he goes, oh, no, she was driving a car. And the officer goes, okay, well, do you know anything about the car? Like, what kind of car was she driving? And he goes, oh, well, she was driving a high-performance 560 horsepower Audi with an aftermarket silver metallic paint, an 8-speed pedal shift automatic transmission, a 6.35-liter V12 engine with a Z51 Super Performance package, large alloy wheels, custom bucket seats, satellite navigation, and sadly a small 3.5-inch scratch on the passenger side door. You see, disordered loves brings about destruction every time. This is not going to end well for that man, right? Disordered loves, it brings about destruction every time. And we've all experienced this, haven't we? Like, think about a time in your life when you loved your job more than your family. Think about a time when you loved your money more than your family. Think about the time when you loved first your comfort and your security in life. Think about a time when you loved your political party first. Think about a time when you loved your addiction first. You see, friends, when our loves are out of order, it leads to destruction and disintegration in every part of life every time. And not only that, but it actually prevents you. It prevents you from following Jesus. Why? Because disordered loves is what we call idols. Remember the Big Ten, the 10 Commandments, right? What's number one? Have no other gods before me. Friends, when I love other things before God, even good things, it becomes an idol. I think of the story of the rich young man. Remember that story? This rich young man comes to Jesus and he's like, hey, Jesus, like, my life's pretty good. I follow all the rules. I'm doing all the right things. Like, I'm a generous guy. I'm avoiding all the bad things. Like, I follow the law, and I'm doing pretty well. What do I need to do to be saved? And Jesus, knowing this man's heart, knowing that this man had his loves out of order, tells him, well, go and sell all of your possessions and give them away, and then come follow me. Now, it's important to know that story, it's not a prescriptive story. Like, he wasn't telling that to all of us, that in order for us to follow him, we have to go and sell everything and give it away and then follow him. But it is descriptive. Why? It's descriptive because he was addressing the heart that was out of order. He was addressing the loves that were out of order for this man, that, hey, you actually love your things, your possessions, your riches, your money, more than you actually love the idea of following me. So if you really want to follow me, then go get rid of those things first so that I can be first. And what did the rich young man do? He walked away sad. You see, Jesus makes it clear. Loving God first. Loving God above anyone and above anything. And I know what some of you are thinking, and I have this same thought, is that, man, that just seems impossible. Like, Jesus, do you really know how much I love my wife? Like, do you know how much I love my kids? Do you know how much I love my family? And you're saying that I should love you more. Like, that's asking a lot. I would do anything for them. I would give anything for them. And you're saying that I need to love you more. Like, what do you mean? I mean, weren't you the one who invented family? Aren't you the one who tells us to love our husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church? Like, aren't you the ones that tells us to, like, kids to honor your father and mother? Like, aren't you the one that said this is a big deal? What are you talking about? And if I don't love them first, wouldn't that be like hurtful to them? Like, wouldn't that be mean to them? C.S. Lewis, who did a lot of work around St. Augustine's ideas of ordered loves, but many years later. But C.S. Lewis wrote this quote, and it's a little heady, and the language is a little strange, but I want you to track with me, so I'm going to read it slowly. It says this: to love you as I should, my family, my spouse, my kids, to love you as I should, I must worship God as creator. When I have learned, that's not a misspelling, that's actually how he wrote it, right? When I have learned to love God better than my earthly dearest, I shall love my earthly dearest better than I do now. Insofar as I learn to love my earthly dearest at the expense of God, or instead of God, I shall be moving towards the state in which I shall not love my earthly dearest at all. When first things, and here it is, when first things are put first, second things are not suppressed, but increased. When first things are put first, second things are not suppressed, but increased. So the question then becomes, what is the best order? Well, Matthew chapter 22, Jesus tells us really plainly in verse 37, and he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. You see, Jesus makes it clear. The number one spot in your life, the number one love you should have is God. With everything, with all of your mind, all of your heart, all of your strength. And here's the thing, when God is number one, when he is in that number one spot, then his love actually overflows into all the other areas of our lives, and we can love those around us even better. Husbands, the best way you can love your wife is to love Jesus first, not her. Wives, the best way you can love your husbands is to love Jesus first, not him. Parents, the best way you can love your kids is to love Jesus first, not them. You see, where are your loves out of order? Like, if you were to stop and just reflect on that and take kind of an audit of your heart, like, where are your loves out of order? Is there something that you love too much? Is there something that you love that's in the wrong spot? This is what Jesus is talking about here. And then he continues on in verse 38, and he says this. And on top of all of that, he says, whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. You see, the cross for us is a sign of life and freedom and salvation and grace and forgiveness. I mean, we hang this around our necks. We hang this in our homes. The cross is a sign of freedom to us, isn't it? But in the context of this conversation, it was not that. Jesus is saying to these disciples, he's saying, take up your cross, which was simply a sign, a symbol of terror, of execution, of death, of mutilation, of suffering, of punishment. This is what he was telling them. And you see, in doing so, Jesus says the cost to follow me is to love me more than anything and anyone, including your own life. And man, this kind of flies in the face of a lot of discipleship that happens in modern Western culture. You see, this flies in the face of that, where we can get so comfortable. Like, I'll go to church as long as they're playing my favorite music, or as long as the seats are comfortable, or as long as, the message makes me all warm and fuzzy, and I'll follow God as long as I don't have too much disruption in my life, and as long as he heals some of my sicknesses and takes care of this and takes care of that. And like, you see, we kind of come to the table with a lot of demands, and here Jesus says, look, if you want to follow me, you have to give up all of that stuff, all of that expectation that a disciple of mine is a disciple who is willing to die. A disciple of mine is a disciple who loves me more than anything, who takes up his cross and denies himself. And then you have to stop and ask the question, well, what's really at stake? Like, what if I don't? What if I don't? Like, what if I just continue to love Jesus, like, third or fourth in my life, sometimes maybe second? Like, what if I just continue to sort of, like, sometimes take up my cross where it's a little bit easier, and other times where it's harder, I just sort of kind of avoid it or pretend it's not there? Like, what's really at stake? Well, Jesus says this same thing again a few chapters later, but he adds one line. In Matthew 16, he says this, "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul?" That's what's at stake, friends. You see, we can live this life clinging to those things that we think we need. We can live this life with our loves out of order. We can live this life and chase and pursue anything you want to do, but one way will end in life and one way will end in destruction. And I would say this, the invitation to follow Jesus starts with the free gift of salvation. Some of you might be hearing this and thinking, oh, well, then you're talking about how I have to earn my salvation. Like, I have to do all of these things, and I have to have all these things in order before I'm saved. No. Salvation starts the process. Salvation is the free gift, the moment of when you put your faith and trust in Jesus. And then from there begins this lifelong process of continuing to learn what it looks like to put Jesus first, to continue to deny myself. Friends, it's a lifelong process, learning how to order our loves rightly. You see, the pathway to life and peace is through death. Let me just ask you, is God maybe highlighting something in your heart that he's inviting you to die to? Maybe it's some pride. Maybe it's a need for control. Maybe it's a need to appear impressive or perfect. Maybe he's asking you to die to some of the facades that you've put up so that certain people don't see certain parts. Maybe he's asking you to die to some of your own self-reliance, or maybe even to die to some of your comfort. Like, what is it? What is it that he's inviting you to die to? You see, Jim Elliot, the man that we talked about last week, the missionary who was brutally murdered along with 4 others on the beaches of a river in Ecuador when they were trying to minister to this Indian tribe there, he coined it this way. He said, "He is no fool to lose what he cannot keep and gain what he cannot lose." You see, friends, this invitation to lose our lives for him. This invitation to lose what we cannot keep, and in doing so, gain what we cannot lose. And friends, you get one life. You get one life. Will you lose your life to find God? Will you love him more than anything? Or will you grasp and cling to and strive for the things that you can't keep? So back to the question, what would you do? What would you do to follow Jesus? The cost is high. And I just want you to check in with yourself for a moment. Like, we can hear this and that feels like a burden, doesn't it? It feels like, oh man, I got a long way to go. I don't feel like I love Jesus enough. And we can respond to this, and we can respond by just sort of gritting our teeth and trying harder and striving, right? Like, okay, we're going to go to church more, and I'm going to give away more stuff to needy people, and I'm going to serve in the children's ministry more, and I'm going to do more things for him, and because I want to love him more. And I just want to say that if that's what you're thinking, that's not the answer. Thankfully, that's not the answer. Here's what I'm convinced of, is that those of us who have experienced the depths of his love, those of us who have tasted and seen the goodness of God, that we've seen the richness of his love, that we don't deserve it, that we haven't done anything to earn it, that it's not based on our merit or anything like that. When we get to experience that love, we don't flinch at the cost. Why? Because it's an invitation into something even better. You see, this is only possible. Living this way is only possible when we realize what was said in 1 John 4:19, which says this: we love because he first loved us. We can love him rightly. Why? Because he first loved. You see that he first loved us. You see, friends, only when we encounter the scandalous love of God. It's only when we encounter the scandalous love of God that sounds too good to be true, that when we are face to face with it, and we don't just know it up here, but we know it in our guts, that when we embrace this love, that we can respond to him in love. That we can deny ourselves and take up our cross. You see, God already answered this question. The question we're asking, what would you do to follow God? God already answered that question for himself. What would you do, God, to be with Chris? God, what would you do to be with Mark? God, what would you do to be with Debbie? He answered that, didn't he? He says, well, here's what I would do. Because of my great love for you, I'm actually going to come to you. I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to put on flesh, and I'm going to live among you, and then I'm going to die for you. I'm going to literally have my blood shed, my body broken for you. That's how much I love you. That's the cost I would pay to be with you. You see, friends, when we experience that love, then and only then can we return to love him. And it's out of that incredible love that we can live lives of worship, of sacrifice, of fruit of the Spirit, all the things that he wants to do in us. So friends, today is an invitation, not a burdensome invitation. It's actually an invitation to freedom, an invitation to be free from grasping at those things that can take our attention, an invitation to find freedom from loving things more than we love God, and an invitation to lose it all. Why? So that we can gain everything. Man, what an incredible invitation. Would you pray with me? God, we thank you for your word. We thank you, Jesus, for saying these hard things to us. God, that you explain to us what it means, what it looks like to come after you, God, that you are worth loving more than anything else. God, that you are worth loving more than even our own lives, that to follow you, we take up our cross. So God, my prayer is that you would help us to do that. This is so much easier said than done. And God, realizing that it's not about me just trying harder, it's not about me just striving and adding more things to my to-do list, but it's simply about me receiving the incredible depth and richness and mind-blowing reality of your love for me. God, would you help us grasp this? God, would you help us believe it? Lord, would you help us to see ourselves as beloved children of God? And in doing so, that we would be able to let go of everything else. That we would love you first. We thank you for it. And it's in your good and powerful and loving name we pray. Amen.